A fish lived here once, and she lived a very short and flavorful life, so I had to show you exactly how I made her. One of the most adult things I've done in my entire life so far was buy a whole fish. Cooking a red snapper is honestly pretty straightforward. We're just going to start off by making a saltwater brine and let it get swim around and go home for a little bit. But you don't want to leave it in there for too long or it might try to get away from you. We're just going to leave it for 20 or 30 minutes so it gets salted all the way through and that meat stays extra moist when we put it in the oven. And now I'm going to put my lid on the fish and just let it sit in the fridge until we're ready for it. So we're going to be roasting our fish over a bed of roasted vegetables. So we're going to preheat the oven to 400 degrees and get to work on those. I've just been looking into a lot of different ways to roast fish lately, and it seems like the common method is to do it with some vegetables on the bottom, and they might be onto something, because I guess I do like roasted vegetables, but a lot of people use roasted tomato for this, but I'm going to swap the tomato for zucchini, but pretty much keep everything the same. I'm just aiming to make sure all of my pieces are around the same size so they get done at the same time. I used to have a hard time slicing potatoes to be the same thickness, but what I do now is just cut into even slices or as even slices as possible, and I'm going to show you what I do with those next. And if you're new here, I'm Amari, and I just really like to cook and show other people, so if you're into this or you need some ideas, you should definitely check me out. I'm here at least twice a week. Now my secret not secret for getting my potatoes to be around the same thickness is just lining up 2 slices and cutting into equal sections, and then slicing those sections in half at one time to get cubes. Looking back on this now and the leftover potatoes in my fridge, I really overestimated how many I was actually gonna eat. And now we're just going to take half of an onion and cut half of it into quarters, but if you're using a smaller onion, you can just kind of chop up the whole thing and throw it in. And my onion is just weirdly big because big onion for 78 cents just sounded good in my head. And now we're going to grab our roasting pan and dump in all of our sliced and diced veggies, and we're just going to try to spread them out evenly. We don't want them to be overlapping. I took out some extra potatoes, and after that I'm just going to throw in about 4 cloves of garlic and drizzle all of it in olive oil and just mix it really well with my hands. A chef's best tool are clean hands. Barefoot Contessa. Now because you're at your house, you can pretty much season your veggies with whatever you want. I'm just going to do salt and pepper though, because that's really the only thing I like for my vegetables. And I'm going to add a little bit of dry rosemary too. Now when you're salting meat, you really want to make sure that's something that you're doing well so you don't have to do later. And I'm going to throw in a few bay leaves that I had lying around too. Now if your veggies are overlapping a little bit, that is totally fine. It's way more important just to make sure everything's evenly coated in olive oil and seasoned well. Now we're going to go in with a bit of white wine. I'm going to use Sauvignon Blanc because I've never had it before, and I know they have this at most grocery stores. We're going to make sure that the bottom of the pan is covered in wine, but we don't want it fully covering the vegetables. We don't want them swimming, we just want the bottom covered before we stick it in the oven. And now in they go at 400 for 30 minutes. And I didn't want to do another leafy salad this week, so we're making a fennel salad, which a lot of people are intimidated by because it looks crazy. So we're going to make sure we cut off the green parts at the top wherever they connect with the bulb, and we're going to cut the bottom of this off too, just so we can get off the tough outer layer. We're going to take off the core a little bit later, but if you haven't had fennel before, not to be a hater, but maybe just a little bit, but it's honestly something I could totally live without. This is the one vegetable I am fully indifferent to, and every time I taste it, I just kind of shrug my shoulders and go, eh. It has a really light black licorice taste, but mostly water to me. Right now in the video, I'm just trimming off a little bit more of the bottom before I cut this in half. Now to remove the core, I just cut it in half and remove it with a butter knife or a spoon. It's just that little white nub in the middle right there. And you're going to want to make sure you're being extra careful with your knife or your spoon whenever you're trying to do this, because on some fennels, that core right there can be really extra hard, and sometimes it will literally fly across the room when you're trying to get it out. Not that it's happened to me or anything. It has. And now we're just going to go ahead and keep slicing it thin. Now we're just going to put it in a bowl since it's chopped and save the leftovers for soup or maybe stock. And just to keep with general fish roasting tradition, we're going to go ahead and slice up a lemon just to put it inside of the fish. And now we're going to take our fish out of our brine and just go ahead and pat it dry. Now you always want to make sure you pat your fish dry so you can make sure that the seasoning sticks and the skin is kind of crispy. As then you just have to grab a really good sharp knife and do 3 diagonal cuts on the side into the flesh. We're going to make sure we do this on both sides to help out with even cooking. It also largely helps out with keeping the fish from curling up, because sometimes when you cook a whole fish, when the skin gets heated up, it tightens and makes the whole thing curl. And now we're going to go ahead and cover our fish evenly on both sides in olive oil to help it brown and just to stop it from drying out in the oven. So red snapper is a fish that's known for being able to hold on to seasoning and flavor really well, but I'm just going to be seasoning this really well with salt and pepper because I plan on cutting this fish into 3 parts and trying it with my Old Bay Cajun seasoning and one other, just so I can see if there's a difference or what tastes better. Now stuffing a fish is honestly pretty straightforward, nothing like a turkey at all. We're just going to go ahead and put our lemon straight on in there. And now we're going to go in with our thyme because thyme rules all. And after that, we're going to go ahead and throw in some dill too, because I've had some dill that I've been holding on to for a while now, but dill is pretty good with fish. And now we're going to put about half of a tab of butter on the inside of this fish. And you're going to need the other half in just a second. And at the 30-minute mark of those vegetables, you're going to want to make sure you go ahead and just take it out, because we're going to set the fish directly on top, just right on the middle. And this is where we're going to need the rest of that butter. We're going to put some of it into the slit and just set another piece on top if you can't get it in the slit. Now in the bottom of this pan, we're basically making a white wine sauce, so we're going to want to make sure we top up the wine in the bottom before we put it back in the oven. And just for good luck, you should actually make sure you have some for yourself in a coffee mug just on the side while you're waiting. Just for good luck though. So fennel does really well with vinaigrette, so we're going to make a vinaigrette for our fennel salad with olive oil, honey, and vinegar. It's the exact same vinaigrette from the last time that I made fish, except for fennel, we're going to let it sit for 5 minutes before we actually eat it, because the acidity in that vinegar is going to help soften up the fiber some. This is a very simple vinaigrette with just olive oil, distilled white vinegar, some honey, and some Dijon mustard. And it is so good. It always tastes good every single time. And we're just going to mix it all together. Now after about 20 minutes, our fish is fully ready to go and flaky. And now we're going to just mix up our salad. I put a little bit of chopped onion in here too. Pretty much everything in this salad is Mediterranean, so I went with feta just to keep the vibes going. Now there goes our dinner. I'll see you guys on Monday, and don't forget to like and subscribe.